Boyd's got to be the fastest brother that I know. Because he be coming around corners like Boyd. He comes out from around the corner and he takes charge and he basically says, look, I'm going to snatch this rod out of her forehead. I mean, like, no tact. Like, they didn't even try to give her a chance that maybe she could recover from it. Boyd is just aggressive now.
Welcome to the third episode of The New Watchers on the Wall, where two crows sit at Eastwatch by the Sea and talk about some of the shows that we are watching. We on episode 3 of From, and
yeah, it's I feel like this season is deviating some from what made us like season 1. So in this one, we're actually going to literally do like a run through of what's kind of going on. Because in my opinion, there wasn't like a whole lot of like breathtaking things happening.
There were things happening, but it was so disjointed to me that, I mean, I couldn't make any connection. I mean, there were obvious connections there, but it was just, there's something there that's kind of taking me out of the story. And I think that last season they did a really good job of having a moving plot and having great character narrative. I think now what we're seeing is just more character-driven script, and that's cool and all. And I guess it's because we've got a bunch of new characters as well, but even so, we didn't get much of the new characters. So I'm really confused about what is going on. No questions are being answered, and it's being piled on top of more questions. Yeah. So I'm really confused.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And we'll probably talk about that a little bit more at the end. But let's just kind of jump into the play-by-play. So the episode starts off with Boyd, and he's looking in the mirror, and he's looking at the huge scratch that he has on his arm. And this is probably the first time that we get a chance to really see how deep of a cut it was. It was pretty deep. And I think probably the most important thing from that particular scene is that we saw him looking at his arms and we don't see the worms.
But that doesn't mean that they're not still there.
Yes, this is very true. Yeah. And I don't know don't let me forget what I want to talk about Boyd, and I changed my mind about the scratch. And we were supposed to do a video in the middle of the week, but we didn't get a chance to do it because I had to go out of town. But I no longer think that the scratch was a bad thing. And don't let me forget that. Or should I just talk about it now?
I wanted you to go ahead because maybe you can shed some light on something.
All right. So initially, when I saw the episode for the first time, and when we watch the episodes, we like to watch it the first time and immediately do a video. I think that you get a different perspective from people versus when they watch it 7 times and then do a video. So initially, when I watched it, I was like, "Dang, this dude scratched Boyd. Put him in danger." And I said, I knew that was going to happen. I knew Boyd was going to help him out. But then when I saw it, when I heard him say something like, "Now you have my blood," and then when I looked in the room and we saw that there was other dead bodies in there, it made me wonder why these people were hung in there. And there was another movie that Tom Cruise was in. And basically what happened was the character got this power from the demons that they were trying to kill. And what happened is, as long as you died, but you didn't drain out of blood when you died, then you could go back in time and restart everything again.
How many times have we been here? How many times?
For me, it's been an eternity.
This is not the end.
The invasion will fail. We lose.
And I'm wondering if the same thing kind of happened with this guy in that he has powers. And that's why the demons or whoever had him locked up, because you can't just simply kill the people who have powers. You have to let them die out. And that's why I think those people were in those chains just sitting there dying out. And I think that when he scratched Boyd and said, "Now you have my blood," I think he gave Boyd some type of power or something like that that's going to help him throughout his journey in Fromland. So I actually think it's a positive thing. But it sounds like a crazy theory, but if you watch that movie, I'll put up some trailer clips of the other movie. I think people kind of get what I'm saying here, and that I think that the scratch was actually a good thing. So Boyd is in there and he's looking, he no longer sees the worms. So I think that they wanted us to see that. And then it transitions to Ellis and Boyd explaining it. Now it's a conversation between Ellis and Boyd, and he's explaining to him that, hey, I got pushed in the tree. And then Ellis is like, where the hell is Sarah? Which is a good question.
Didn't I ask that the last 2 episodes?
Exactly.
But you know what's interesting is, you know, the whole time we were watching the show, we kept asking each other, why is nobody why are we not talking about what happened in the woods? Why is Boyd not explaining, this is what happened in the woods. We had a tent, we got pulled by some giant arachnid somewhere, we saw a lighthouse, Sarah pushed me in the he's not explaining it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really frustrating. And then when he does explain it to Ellis, he's like, he doesn't believe him.
Yeah.
And my thing is like, we're living in this situation where we can't get out and we're stuck. Why wouldn't you think something miraculous like that wouldn't happen?
Yeah. And like you said, I think it goes back to, and this is what we're talking about, they're really making the characters in this season way more emotional.
Now I see what you're talking about now.
I said that in our first video that we did of this season.
And I see where you're going with that now. Because everybody is just acting erratic.
Yeah, everybody's like on 10 the entire episodes, and it's really weird. But I think what was interesting about this conversation between Boyd and his son is that I think that Ellis is starting to see some of the same characteristics in Fatima that worried him that he saw in his mother when his mother broke. Mm-hmm. And we saw that Fatima had the mental break in episode 2 where she's flicking off the monsters and stuff like that, and even goes outside with them and puts herself in jeopardy, even though she knows what exists out here. And he's trying to, I guess, not allow history to repeat itself, in that he doesn't want her to break like his mother broke.
He doesn't want to have to do what his dad did.
Exactly. And not only just that, but just to repeat the same thing. And I think Boyd is actually more into understanding what he's saying this time, because when it happened last year, when Ellis was telling his dad mom is breaking, he didn't take it really serious. He was like,
he wasn't listening.
Let me go get the goats out the woods and then we'll have a conversation.
Right. He was so busy trying to have a life and create order, with his family. So, Boyd tells Ellis, go ahead and go help Kenny with the traps.
And pick flowers.
But the thing is that, didn't we say last season, didn't everybody think that the food was just miraculously appearing? Well, the animals, not the peaches. Mm-hmm. But the animals, right? Yeah. So I guess they have been trapping animals and collecting animals. And then, Donna mentioned that their crop was kind of
worn out because of the storm.
So now what I said last week about food becoming scarce.
Yep, you said that.
I think
you said that.
This is going to become even more of a problem.
Yep. And so they're in the forest, or the forest, or whatever you want to call it. And Kenny is working hard, and Ellis is picking flowers. And then this is when they have a slight conversation, because Kenny's on edge. Kenny,
everybody is on edge, and I hate that they're making Kenny look like some wounded animal. And Kenny's not a wounded animal. He's just
in love, and he's just
in love and trying to get over it. Yeah. Like, he's not that guy. He's not the guy.
And I think that having a significant other in a place like this helps you cope with this foolishness. And that's why I think that you've seen people in Colony House hook up. You've seen people want to have meaningful relationships with people, and that's what Kenny is looking for. And he was starting to get it, and now it's being taken away. So then it transitions to Jim, and he's in the hospital. He's being taken care of by his wife Tabitha, and his children are there. And they have an emotional moment. And once again, a lot of emotional moments where he said, I thought you were dead, and things like that. And he's just like, I don't want to lose you again. Which is understandable.
Because they were on the brink of, weren't they going to get divorced after this road trip or something?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And this is when it transitions to Donna. and everybody else at the bus, because now everybody's gathering all of their things from the bottom of the bus because now they can't go nowhere because Donna blew out the tires. And this is the first realization that people have that, hey, there is some shit going on in this forest that you don't know about. And Donna has to talk to the hothead. I don't know why I don't ever know this guy's name, because he actually has a firearm.
He doesn't have a name.
Yeah, I know, right?
I call him the
hothead.
No, I call. You kept mentioning his hairline.
I'm gonna stop.
In the
I'm
show.
gonna stop talking about his hairline now.
But I kept in my head calling him hairline.
Okay.
So we're just
In your
gonna
head.
call him hairline.
Oh Lord. But he has a fire. You so silly. So he has a firearm, and he's having an argument with Donna because she's like, "Look, we're not gonna let you have a gun here," and it gets pretty heated. And then Boyd, this is like Boyd just keeps popping in this episode. It's like every time something happens, Boyd just comes around the corner like, "Hey." So Boyd comes around the corner.
You said it just like he says it.
Hey. That's how Boyd. That's how Boyd does it. So he comes around the corner and basically tells him, "Look, long story short, we don't allow people to have firearms here." But I couldn't differentiate something. Was he saying that people in the town can't have the firearm, or people at Colony House? Because they differentiate themselves, and I didn't quite understand that part of it. So
I think that is because if you notice, everybody from Colony House, every time something has gone down where they got to get people or do something, everybody in Colony House gets a weapon, and they just come out. And so I think there is a difference. I think the people who are in the town, they are not allowed to have weapons.
Yeah.
I think people in the Colony House have put themselves in the position to be kind of like security, you know, like yeah.
Yep.
They're top flight security of the world, correct?
Yep. I mean, it's really interesting stuff. And this is when we start to hear the conversation between Boyd and Donna, and we get the understanding that there is going to be a food shortage. And they're going to need to ration out the food because the storm wiped out some of the things. And this is when it transitions back to Kenny. And they're setting the traps, but then they hear something.
Wait a minute. You're skipping over something really important.
What's that?
About Donna and Boyd's conversation.
That's at the end. You talking about where
That was in the same scene.
which conversation?
Oh, you're talking. Okay, never mind. That's later. That's later.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the greenhouse.
Yeah, that's
later.
much later at the end.
My
So a cell phone rings, and it's shocking because
We were
we've been
just
saying
talking
this-
about that.
Yeah, we were talking about that, and we were going to talk about it in that video in the middle of last week. We didn't get a chance to do it.
And you know what made me mad about that?
What?
Is that we were talking about that and nobody thought to say, let's look at it, let's take it in, let's try
To call.
Let's try.
'Cause-
Let's see what happens.
Because things may have changed. The signal might have gotten stronger, or this may be a different provider.
I mean,
and that frustrates me. So the phone rings, and they run over, and then
it wasn't
they see-
ringing, it was an alarm.
It was an alarm. And they run over and they see one of the girls that was on the bus, and this is the one that they got trapped in the bar. What was it? They gave us the two names.
Her name was Kelly.
Kelly and Brian.
Brian.
And for some reason, she's explaining that the monsters dragged them out, and this is new behavior. One of the monsters took that rebar and stabbed her head through it and stuck her to the tree so she could watch Brian get ate up. That's weird to me. Because this is not how the monsters operate.
And it's very weird. Well, they do operate in that sense of like, we're going to play with you, right? Because Donna mentioned that last season about her sister.
Yeah.
You know, but they would have ate her too, right? Unless they're trying to send a message. Again, question on top of question on top of question.
And it makes me wonder, are the monsters getting direction to do different things or whatever the case may be? Because it's new behavior, and then they didn't explain why this behavior would be new. Because the likelihood that monster could find that rebar in the dark at night, find it, and then stab the girl with it.
They must have already had the rebar.
Yeah,
also too, Patrick, I thought that they could not come into a dwelling where they had a talisman, even if they opened the door, right? Or no, you know what? They would have to open the door for them to come in.
Yeah, because that's what happened in when they raided Colony House. Even though there were Townsend in there, if somebody opened it, they can get in.
Oh. Okay.
So this is when it transitions to Jade. I'm sorry. This is when it transitions to Victor, and he's in his home, and he's pissed off because somebody has rummaged through his home. And he's looking around, he's like, what's going on here? And then we see the young lady who had the glass shards fly in her eye. She comes in with her eye patch. Really interesting to me why they keep bringing her in. But let's keep going so we don't
know.
keep falling off. And then this is when it transitions to Jade, and we thought that they were going to have that great moment. Jade is playing, I guess, Victor's violin. Victor comes banging on the door, and I'm like, yes, they're about to have a meaningful, substantive conversation, which seems like it's just impossible for anybody to have in Fromland. Nobody has meaningful, substantive
Nobody asks
conversations.
questions. Nobody, I mean...
So he's talking, Victor is like, clearly evident that now Victor's on the spectrum to me. He's like, fuck what you talking
There's
about.
nothing wrong with being on the spectrum,
Yeah.
okay?
No, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's clearly evident now that he is, and he's like, fuck what you talking about. Give me my violin. I'm out, and don't touch my stuff. You know, and Victor was so serious when he said that. And so then Jade is like, hold on, I gotta talk to you. He's like whipping out the book. I've been drawing these symbols. All of this stuff is going on. And Victor is just like, man, get on with that bull. And once again, another opportunity of a substantive conversation to happen, and it just does not happen.
So, and I was thinking at this time, they don't have like family meeting, like group meetings. Like, you're all stuck in this town.
Let's have some meaningful conversations.
Let's have a conversation. Let's sit down. What do you know? What do you know? What have you seen? Are you seeing things? Are you like? I mean, there's nothing. I know that if I was stuck in a town and we seen a tree, and we were in our camper and we got stuck somewhere and we couldn't get out, I'm asking all the questions. You're not just gonna tie me up and tell me there's monsters out there. You can't go out there. Fine, I'm not gonna do that because I'm black. We don't do that. We don't do that. But we're going to ask a hell of a lot of other questions, too, about, okay, well, what's up with the guy in the peaches? Why are y'all all, like, we're just going to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, it's like, I don't get it. And then it transitions to another scene where we had opportunity to have meaningful conversation, which is Kristen and her fiance. And her fiance is really frustrated still. And once again, it's evident that nothing's been explained to her clearly. Another missed opportunity.
She's still frustrated? You everything that's going on, and you're still frustrated?
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know.
It doesn't compute.
So then it transitions to Jim, and he sees the exit sign in the hospital, and it's flashing, and he gets up to try to inspect it. And
For what?
I don't know. And
For
then
why?
that old weird lady walks in, and I thought that this, for some reason, was pretty interesting. Back and forth that they had
in her hand.
Yeah. So Jim says, where was the bus going to? Because that's what I want to know. First of all, where did you guys leave from? Where was the bus going? But Jay asks him, where was the bus going to? And she says, to a racetrack. And he says, what type of bus was it? And she goes, how you not know what kind of bus
And
you on?
at this point, I was so frustrated. I was kind of ready just to not even watch the rest of the show. Because what is being written it has to be grounded in some type of reality, right? Like, this is not the type of conversation you would have if you're stuck somewhere and a bus pulls. You're gonna ask, where did the bus come from? Number one. And number two, where was the bus going? You tell me that, we were going to a racetrack somewhere.
What city?
Bitch,
what state?
You know that I'm not asking you if you were going to Disneyland. What city and what state were you going from?
How long were y'all on this bus? Where did y'all leave from?
That is what I'm asking you. It's common sense. And the writing it's pissing me off. Look, I'm acting like you when you were watching the show. It's pissing me off because it's like these conversations that they are having make no sense.
It's not. I don't know if it's not that they're making sense. We're frustrated because we're waiting on people to have good conversations to give us answers. And every time the show spends a significant amount of time where they're just watching two characters have dialogue, we're expecting that to be a meaningful, important dialogue. And I don't know why we're not getting that. So this is when she reveals to Jim that Christy, what are the odds? She says, what are the odds? Bless you. She says, what are the odds that Christy and her fiance, they will be married and they will somehow link up? And Jim is just flabbergasted. And this is when it transitions to Elgin and Fatima, and they're walking around the property. And Fatima says, hey, I'm your proxy. And
She doesn't look as happy.
Yeah.
as before.
This is interesting to me because you have Elgin, who almost looks like he's kind of on the spectrum a little bit. We have what's the main character that we drawing stuff? Victor. And then we have girl who gets revealed at the very end. She's got some quirky stuff going on.
But don't forget that Tabitha is also starting to see things.
Exactly. She's starting to see things too. So then Elgin says, hey, do you have a lake or pond or river out here? And she's like, yeah, let me take you to it. And she's like, how did you know we had that? He said, I saw it. And then once again, he says that, and she's like, well, how did you see it? And he's like, well, and then this is when Fatima says, people have dreams and things like that. And she said, a girl said that she feels like this place is calling them out. Some people choose to listen and others choose not to listen. And she said some people obsess over this stuff. Once again, if he says, I saw this, I'm like, what you mean you saw this?
And
like,
what else did you see in your dream?
Because if he's seeing that, there has to be something to it. And they go back to the girl with the rebar in her head, and Kenny and them are trying to discuss what are we going to do with her. Kenny's like, man, we should probably just put her out of her misery and shoot her. And that's when they're like, no, we're not going to do that. And they're kind of having like a moment here. And I really hope that this is going to be a meaningful moment, because they probably spent 1/3 of the episode on this girl sitting against a tree with rebar stuck in her head. And they're debating the options. And then it transitions to Tabitha and Julie who are going through clothes.
Excuse me.
Bless you. They're going through clothes because they've lost all of their belongings. And she finds Julie some clothes, and Julie's like, this has a hole in it. And I'm like, Julie,
bitch, we got bigger fish to fry than this. Is not Forever 21. What the fuck do you think is going on here?
It doesn't.
If your ass don't get over here and pick a damn sweater so we can go.
Like, Julie, like you're old enough to understand where we are and what's going on. Everybody's wearing the same clothes every day. Why would you be like pissed off that something has a hole? Who cares? But I don't know why they took time out for that exchange.
Maybe just to remind us that she's a teenager.
A teenager and she's young, whatever. So this is when they walk out and Tabitha is seeing these two dead kids dressing all white again. And it transitions to Boyd, and he's at the gravesite and he's talking to her gravesite, and he's saying that my mission basically to leave, it wasn't successful. And then he jokes that Elgin's about to get married. And this is what's key here.
Not Elgin, Ellis.
I'm sorry. Then he says, maybe the real question is, he said, baby, how is it that a man who doesn't know you, who's chained up to a wall, knows your name? And he starts to question, baby, maybe it is a dream. Maybe I do need to wake up. So Boyd is really starting to second guess himself. But interestingly though, Boyd is looking healthy though. Like, even that is probably the one observation that you can make, because even though all of this is going on, he's looking pretty healthy. And this is when we see Tabitha and Julie, they're back at the house, and she asks her mom, what is it that you see? And she said, I see these dead children. But she said that it's different because when your brother passed away, I used to see him, but it was positive memories. But she's seeing these two dead children, and she doesn't know why she's seeing them, which is pretty interesting. And then this is probably one of like my favorite parts of this episode, which is interesting, is that the girl in the rebar says, can I call my mom? The first person ever.
Again. You know, let's try to call. Let's try. Let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Let us know what does it not ring? Does it just say disconnected? I would love to have seen, because that's also the first phone that we've seen with some damn power. Like the fact that it had power, it could have an alarm. That lets us know, you know. But like you said, they didn't even attempt, and I'm like, but then they have another moment and they say, hey, you know, the girl is kind of realizing I'm about to die. And they have this moment where they say, well,
which is so sad.
Yeah, it is pretty. It's pretty sad. And then Boyd pops out of nowhere, and once again, like Boyd is like everywhere.
In that fucking blazer.
Boyd has got to be the fastest brother that I know, because he be coming around corners like Boyd. He comes out from around the corner, and he takes charge, and he basically says, "Look, I'm gonna snatch this rod out of her forehead." I mean, like, no tact. Like, They didn't even try to give her a chance that maybe she could recover from it. Like, Boyd is just aggressive now. I mean, it was so. To me, it was so not Boyd. Boyd is normally calculating, kind, but they yank it out of her, and then she dies. And this is when we see Fatima and Boyd's son. They're sitting at the diner, and he says, "Baby, let's get married." Because I really think he's seeing a lot of some of the same traits in her they saw with his mom. He's like, "We don't have to wait till we leave this place to get married." And she's like, "Yeah, baby, let's get married." And this is when we see Tabitha, and this is one of your favorite parts. She was on the porch with her son, and he was stacking those things. Mm-hmm. And it's similar to what we saw.
The game underneath the house, or in the the game underneath the house and in the tunnel.
Yep.
But it's like this one looks like the actual game. So down there, it was like this crude version of it. So that was.
What the one thing that was weird to me about that scene was, why did it take for him to stack the last thing on top for her to say, "Oh my God, that's that game"? It was like as soon as she walked outside, I
knew what it was.
I was like, that looks like the damn game that they played. Mm-hmm. And so it was weird to me that she had to wait for that to happen, and then it's like he had a flashback, and then.
So that to me solidified that those monsters are people who have been there. Those clothes and everything that they find, the cars, belong to those. They were people that were there in the town.
Yep.
So, I don't know. And not Donna, but Tabitha sees the dead kids again on the porch. So here it is. We're having people, they're getting real emotional. A lot of people now are starting to see stuff, but then they're seeing stuff and things are going on, but nobody's communicating with each other because you don't know if this stuff is linked, and there might be a solution, but nobody's talking. So this is when we start to see Donna. She's getting the plans together and stuff like that in the greenhouse, and she's breaking down. She drops stuff and she's all mad, and Boyd walks in, and he has this interesting conversation about how when he was in the army serving in Iraq, I think he said he had a soldier that in his platoon that died in his hands and his name happened to be Brian Kelly, which is the name of the boy and the girl that were in the bar.
If you put their names together, the ones that got killed. And he's like, well, what are the odds? And then Donna's like, dude, fuck that. What happened in the forest? You know what I'm saying? Good question. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Donna. Asking the questions that everybody wants to know.
So then Donna is like, what happened? And then this is when and Boyd tries to walk off. And this is the realest stuff. This might have been the realest sentence that transpired in there. Donna says something to the effect that you don't get to come here and dump your shit on me and then just leave. And I'm like, yeah. Like, Boyd, you came in there with all of that and then refused to tell her what happened.
In your blazer.
Like, just popping around corners. And this is when she says, look, Boyd, you're back. We don't know what happened, but I do know one thing. We need the old Boyd back. We need you to be the sheriff again, to take charge and be Mr. Fish and Lowe's and bring people back together because people are losing it, including Donna, which I thought was really interesting. And then this is when they transition to Kenny, and he's in the church because he's going to go get some books, I guess, to read over the funerals that they're going to have for the most recently passed. And he hears a noise downstairs and goes downstairs, and guess who he sees?
Sarah's ass.
Sees Sarah, and it just ends. And when that happened,
the way you cussed at the TV.
Because I literally thought there was at least about another 10 to 15 minutes left. And I'm like, and you know, the thing that's kind of killing me is that we talked about this. Last season, there was some character development, but they moved the plot along as well. Mm-hmm. Let's just say for the sake of things, it was 50-50. 50% character development, 50% moving the plot. These last few episodes, I feel like they're just spending so much time on just character development. And at times, not even real character development, because they have characters sometimes just talking and nothing meaningful is happening from the conversation. Like, I'm still flabbergasted, and maybe there's going to be a significant piece of information that comes, but I'm flabbergasted that they literally spent 1/3 of this episode on the girl with the rebar in her head. I'm like, why? And then they didn't ask her like no questions. Did they say anything to you when they stabbed
It's
the thing?
probably not important.
I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't know why Boyd goes and talks to Donna and he's like, I'm willing to talk all day long about these things, but don't ask me about the forest, right? And it's like, but bro, that's so important. You know what I'm saying? Like
You coming out of these ruins in the forest.
Yeah.
There's like 50 guys dead and chained up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's strange. All I know is they better not wait until season 6 or 9 or whatever season to tell us that if you crank something, the damn town spins around. Or the...
Yeah, you going back to Lost.
No, I feel like that's how I feel now. How you were feeling last week, I feel like that now.
Yeah, I still like the show. You know what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
The thing is,
it's
like,
acting is top tier.
And sometimes I feel like we come off as like critical, but it's because you're getting our initial reactions from watching it.
You're getting our real reaction.
Yeah, this is not nothing scripted.
This is not
where we're sent the episode weeks in advance. And we're watching it, and because they sent it to us weeks in advance,
no shade if you are, I don't think any of those people are watching this, but like, no shade if you are, but like, we don't have anything to lose. We got to go to work in the morning, so.
Yeah. So, like we were saying, still lots of questions. And guys, if you watch our last video last week, people put some great comments and questions down there. Mm-hmm. This week, we will go over the questions and comments that you guys have for this episode, and probably last week's video as well. I'm really hoping that they turn things around and we start to get a few more questions answered, because we really want to know what's going on here. I still feel like Elgin is somehow related to Boyd.
I don't think so.
Let's
I don't think any of this shit is related at this point. That's how I feel about this episode. None of this is related. Forget all my theories from last season. I don't have any anymore.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't have any anymore.
I wouldn't be surprised if Elgin is somehow related to Boyd. I wouldn't be surprised if like he was somehow like Fatima and such, son or something crazy like that. So really interested in that. Like I mentioned earlier, I would not be surprised if that man scratching Boyd was actually going to be something that helps Boyd, because he's looking healthier actually. And I think it's kind of like that X cheat code where when you're playing a game or whatever this might be, you have some people that somehow develop these innate abilities to kind of deal with things. And I think that Boyd is going to be one of those people that somehow gets some type of ability, because of that. So overall, what do you guys think of the episode? How are you feeling about the character development? How are you feeling about where things are headed? Very curious to know what you guys think.
I think that they're going to run out of food and they're going to have to eat their dead.
Eat their dead? I'm wondering why they're creating a food shortage though. Because is it to create like a sense of anarchy in the town or whatever the case may be? Or do you think it's going to be to make people actually say, you know what, we need to try to leave the town? Well, why do you think that they're going to start making people hungry and stuff?
So people get desperate and start making stupid mistakes, like being outside after dark.
I don't know.
I don't know, Patrick. I don't know.
I could definitely see that in making people act irrationally, for sure. And, the thing with the bus situation, they could have used that bus for something. Like, for example, while it was still drivable, they could have probably have put a Townsend or two in there and tried to, like, go to different parts of Fromland, rummage through, like, the forest, and then when it started to get dark, get back on the bus. You get what I'm saying?
Now you're making too much sense.
No, but it's because, like, how Boyd and them were running around in the tent with him and old girl, that bus is like the perfect thing to be like, okay, let's drive a mile down. We'll spend 8 hours in the daytime trying to go through the forest while the monsters are not there. And then when it's getting close to being dark, we can all get back on the bus, use the townsmen, and be safe for the night, and keep trying to do something like that strategically. I just, like, you shot a hole in it. I don't know. But, you know, thanks for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe button. And we will see you guys hopefully in the middle of the week in the next video.
Yep.
Peace.